Good morning, gang, for those of you out there. This is the Roaming Prepper. Hopefully you all can hear me. I've been having a little bit of difficulty with the audio on this computer, but I will have an upgraded laptop here shortly, so I'm hoping that'll change the problem a bit. Before I get off to work myself, I wanted to cover there were four really weird stories, and they were weird to the point that I was like, I got to share this with everyone. So, first and foremost, the Russians have arrested a Belarusian activist. He's anti-Putin. And the way they did it, they hijacked a commercial flight. They basically embedded, they're not KGB anymore. Let's see what they were called. They are not KGB, Belarusian KGB, whatever they're called, embedded four of them on the aircraft, and then they hijacked the aircraft. Then the pilots, of course, called in the military, who then used a MiG-29 to force the plane down in Minsk, as opposed to the Ukraine, which is where they were trying to go. And then they came on board and arrested the activists, not the terrorists, the activists. Fortunately, the activist had handed his laptop to his Russian lady friend, and by the time the agents realized what he'd done, she had downloaded a bunch of documents to another group over in Sweden or somewhere else, but they arrested her as well. So this is the first time that I've seen where a state sponsor blatantly hijacked a plane, and they were not very subtle about it. Normally, you would think if a state was involved, they'd try to be a little more discreet. No, not so much. They were really blatant about it. The hijackers are speaking Russian. They declared a hijacking. The plane called it in. Then the Russian military showed up and forced them down in Russia. So both of them are now in jail, and it's caused a bit of a scene. So now the UN is protesting that, state-sponsored hijacking is not cool. Now, I'm quite sure governments have done this for years now, but this was a really egregious, blatant hijacking by state players. They didn't even try to hide it. It's like 0 F's given. So very strange. Not something you see every day, but I thought I'd share that with you. We'll post a link on the chat. Let me see if I can do this without screwing up the works here. That one was on MSN. And again, I like to do a diversity of news. I know some folks don't like MSN, some do. Now we'll go to the other side of the fence, Fox News. Apparently, according to the news here, about a month before, hold on a second here, I have some interference. About a month before the first reports of illness popped out in Wuhan, people are finding out that about a month before COVID-19 was first reported in Wuhan, China, foreign government contacts told State Department officials that several workers at the Wuhan Institute of Virology got ill with a strange respiratory illness in mid-November of 2019, according to a former State Department official who dealt with that region of the world. The official who worked at the State Department during the Trump administration claimed to have been in touch with those contacts, but at the time it was not confirmed, so no action really, there wasn't much actionable intel. But now the Biden administration is also looking at this information, they're finding that kind of interesting, that just before a major outbreak, 3 or 4 virologists at the very lab near where the wet market was contracted what appeared to be symptomatics of COVID-19. Whether that's a smoking gun, it's hard to say. It's reasonable to believe they went from the lab to the market, got sick there, and then went back to the lab. But interesting, just strange stuff this morning. And And the last one for today, before I run off and do my thing. So there's been a lot of violence between Jews and Israelis and Palestinians, obviously in Palestine and Israel, but now they're having situations all over the world. So there was recently several muggings in New York City of Arabic, as per the news, Arabic or Palestinian youth attacking Jews. So now there was a group of Jews in Brooklyn went after an Arabic market and tore it up, and 2 Israelis were stabbed in Jerusalem, and then the assailant was shot by a police officer who happened to be in vicinity. You're seeing, even though the actual battle has settled down with pressure from the UN and NATO and all the other players, it has now become asymmetric. So now it's gone to the streets. And this is going to be a lot harder to manage because, people randomly walking up and stabbing or clubbing other people is very hard to control. So, yeah, I expect there's going to be some bad sentiment between the two groups as this all gets sorted out. But interesting how once the major conflicts were stopped and the rockets were and air attacks stopped between the two larger groups, it immediately went into the streets all over the world. So as I always preach, if you're out in the streets, pay attention to what's going on around you. You may have nothing to do with either ethnic group or either religion, and you could just get caught in between someone else's stupidity or their anger. But that's it. That's my Monday morning madness. Just 3 really weird stories, especially that Belarusian activist. They hijacked an entire domestic airplane. It was actually a Ryanair airline. So it wasn't even like a Russian, or is it a Russian? Let's find out. Ryanair. I swore that was. Its headquarters in Swords, Dublin. So it's a British airline. So I know the Brits are not happy about that at all because that pisses them off. So, yeah, Russia hijacked a British airliner to get somebody off who actually, if I'm reading correctly, was not formally charged with anything other than disobeying Putin. So that's interesting. This is not the first time they've done some blatant stuff. Putin's proven to be a bit of a dangerous guy. So pay attention to that part of the world. In any case, guys, I got to get going for my day. Godspeed to all of you. Be safe and pay attention. There's just weird stuff going on. It's kind of cool. Hopefully it doesn't get so cool that we all get shut down again. Take care. Godspeed.